Well, welcome on an Autobike Racing Without Mercy on a beautiful day here in Alpe d'Huez. And on the agenda right now is a comparison. You know I do love a comparison. And of course we're comparing which is quicker or faster, an ascent in our favourite virtual environment on Alpe Du Zwift or one in real life. Now, on Thursday I have the TT up Alpe d'Huez, and on a Saturday I have La Marmotte itself. Therefore, I'm not going to burn all my matches early on right now in a week, so I'm going to take the whole ascent at a nice measured 250 to 260 watts. Now, as you may have seen in some of my recent videos, I've been adoring the Café du Cycliste jerseys and bibs, and I've been hitting my credit card hard in the London store. But the kind folk at Café du Cycliste, having seen some of my Instagram posts and also the YouTube videos, have sent me this beautiful jersey for free. But furthermore, if you sign up to their newsletter, link is in the description, they're going to run a raffle to give away a voucher to spend online or in their store in London, or indeed Europe. So please do sign up. I've been liking their stuff. Pops on the bike and goes beautifully here, the jersey with the Wilier. So here we go. Jayne is doing the honours in terms of the camera work. Alpe d'Huez, here we come. So we set off with my confidence high, having had a decent summer of UK sportives. Plus, I'd had a good 1 month block of tempo training on the rollers, building up from 1 hour to 2 hours, and also a decent feel for my 1 hour of power, it typically being in the 275 to 285 watt range, i.e. 4.3 to 4.4 watts a kilogram. However, the high spirits and uplifting scenery were matched only by my heart rate, which leapt majestically straight into the 170s, and within 10 minutes was at 180 BPM, just 2.5 kilometres into the climb. This was all pretty perplexing, but I now understand there were two factors at play here. A long car journey to arrive at Alpe d'Huez would have certainly taken its toll, and I do now recall that during my first day climbing in Italy this time last year had required more caution than I gave it. I blew myself up on the climb of Perifossa. Plus, not that I realised it at the time, the impact here of living and sleeping at altitude 2,000 metres with less oxygen in the blood was certainly having quite a big impact. Now the bike felt good and the cadence fluid, but any power that I'd envisaged was a figment of my increasingly frustrated imagination. And intolerable though the thought was, at about 6 kilometres I decided to regroup and target 240 watts. This enabled my heart rate to reduce from 180 BPM to the mid to low 170s. But versus the power I was putting out, it was a bit of an unpleasant revelation, and it didn't feel good. I was going to have to gut it out in order to get to the top. So it turned into a climb of very much two halves. The first half averaging 250 watts and all but a blow up, and the second half, well, just 220 watts or so in order to just make it up the Alpe in a half reasonable time. And to compound matters, I forgot to start the ride on my Bolt and only hit the start after turn 21. But from Jayne's camera, I know the ascent took 57 minutes and 45 seconds, and my heart rate in the first half averaged 174 BPM, peaking at 180, versus 171 BPM in the second half. Average power about 230 watts. So just lining up for the start of the Grimpée, a TT up Alpe d'Huez. There we are. The warm-up has been very, very short, about 3 minutes, because it took a long time to sign in over there. Kai, staying at the chalet with Kai, and look, Kai is a man of taste. Although not quite good enough taste to have the blue. You're right, Kai?
Yeah.
Looking confident, Ruben?
Well, the level of excitement is high.
The level of excitement is high. Kai,
the level of
Ruben, I should be seeing the rear of their machines. I was very much in search of some redemption a couple of days later, taking on the Grimpée Alpe d'Huez, the time trial up Alpe d'Huez on the Thursday ahead of La Marmotte. Day 3 in the Alps, and I realised that my original game plan to ride at 270 to 290 watts was not on the card, so I targeted 250. It's a lovely atmospheric event, and the rear camera does justice to the vistas and the other riders. In the previous video I pointed out this veteran of the cols during La Marmotte, ascending the Glandon. Well, this was my very first encounter with he of the beautiful yellow bike and distinctive riding style, albeit his weaving around did require some delicate navigation in the bunch in order to avoid a carbon-on-carbon crisis. Kudos to this fine gentleman. He definitely has panache and also a sense of fun on his beautiful Specialized. As anticipated, Ruben and Kai has shot off up the climb and put in some very impressive times. I definitely need to be a little bit more disciplined with my power in the hairpins, because as the gradient slackened off, so did my power, in turn allowing this gentleman in red, white and black to come back past me. While I was intent on not blowing up, I simply had to regain this place. Traffic jams are also thankfully not a feature of Alpe Du Zwift. Luckily, as I was slowing for the red light, it changed to green, allowing a few of us to thread our way back through with the cars. Consistency was my middle name, a steady 12 to 14 kmh. Dutch corner, always a highlight of any climb up Alpe d'Huez. From the saddle, the views up and down Alpe d'Huez are most spectacular in the final third, and I also enjoyed a leisurely, well, civilised little battle with this guy in his black, orange and yellow, where eventually I prevailed at a stately pace. So my time, 54 minutes 38 seconds, 250 watts, with lower heart rate this time, 163 BPM in the first half and 168 in the second. The heart rate monitor actually malfunctioned in the final 2 kilometres, not sure why. Overall I felt much better and potentially could have added an extra 5 to 10 watts if I dug a little bit deeper.
Kai, how do you go?
Slow.
Slow? Surely not on a red Wilier.
Yeah.
With Vittori tyres as well. I didn't know not Vittori, but they're beautiful tyres.
Tires. I didn't really do the bike justice today.
Didn't do the bike justice. I'm sure that isn't the case, sir. I'm sure that isn't the case.
I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high.
I think mine were too. Mine were too. I paced things a little bit within myself for the ascent. Didn't want to blow myself up as I managed to on Tuesday. Obviously we've got the Marmotte on Saturday. Therefore, average power for the Alpe Du Zwift segment of the real Alpe was 250 watts, 13.5 kilometers an hour. Pretty happy with that. And it'd be super interesting to see how that compares with the virtual ascent once I'm back indoors, and I'll ride that at a steady 250. Well, just like that, I'm back in London, and of course it's now time to undertake the virtual leg of the comparison, where I'm going to kind of replicate the circa 250 watts power that I put down during the Grimpée Alpe d'Huez. Time, of course, for the weigh-in, but enjoy the views and the contrast to the beautiful Alps. The stress is high, because we're literally moving out the flat in about an hour. You can see the boxes piled up there. Jayne tells me I've got an hour and 5 to get on the bike, warm up, get down to the Alpe Du Zwift, up the Alpe Du Zwift, showered and ready in turn for the movers to take all of this away. A tall order. Making life unnecessarily difficult for myself. I've got to get on with it. I really do have to get on with it. Look, the pain cave here, looking a little bit sorry for itself. Very, very brown. And oh dear, here we're going to a temporary Airbnb. So please, please, please be for short-term storage. I can't do without you. Certainly not over the autumn and winter. There's the weigh-in. So you can have a quick look at the garage. And you can see the Trekker with the lightweight wheels are specified, as close as I can replicate, of course, to the Wilier with the lightweight wheels. And then, just closing that, come on, close. Go to the settings. Trainer difficulty is 100%. And then we go to the weight. So it needs to be 63. Well, actually, I'll keep it 63.5 because I have GoPro equipment and bits and bobs like that, and it's probably about 800 grams in all honesty on the bike. But let's put it at 63.5. And time to get riding. Just coming to the start of the official segment of Alpe Du Zwift, replicating that in real life. Here we go, 250 watts. There we go. Just finding that place to settle. Bringing the cadence up now. Now, one of the reasons I'm also replicating the exact wattage put down during the Grimpée Alpe is because I struggle to really get and sustain much over 250 watts during the real thing. And I thought, and I still think, that was down to the impact of sleeping at altitude. Now, whilst the real life segment on Alpe d'Huez to replicate Alpe Du Zwift is only just under 1100 meters of climbing, it does start 800 meters above sea level, and we were staying about 150 meters above where the Zwift replica KOM ends, about 2000 meters of altitude. And definitely my sleep was disrupted, as was Jayne's, and my resting heart rate was higher. And a combination of impaired recovery and higher heart rate didn't help when trying to put down kind of threshold power. And you'll have seen on a Marmotte that I reduced my target powers by about 20 watts. First corner coming. And I reckon that the impact of the altitude in terms of higher heart rate, worse recovery, but also for a period of time, less oxygen in the blood, about 15% less oxygen in the blood, creates less of an ability to sustain the power you would otherwise sustain at sea level. Well, certainly for me. And I've undertaken a little experiment last Tuesday to prove what I think the disparity is. So by riding at about 250 watts on average up here, I'm also replicating the impact of altitude on me personally. Now, everybody is different, and depending on whether you sleep at altitude or have been well adapted to riding and training at altitude, will impact on your performance. But for me, as you'll see, or would have already seen, I'm not sure which, what order the videos are coming in the video, I reckon the impact was 20 to 30 watts for me. Circa 10% off my power. And of course, the other good reason for riding at 250 watts average is that it makes for a better comparison. And during my previous Leith Hill and Box Hill comparisons, some people suggested replicating the average power. So I've done that. Check out the Leith Hill and Box Hill comparisons if you haven't already seen them, and do either look out or check out my little bro science to look at the impact of altitude on athletic performance for the cyclist. You know, obviously very specific to me. Anyway, I'll report back. Now the gradient slackened off on 100% trainer difficulty, I'm able to stay seated very comfortably and spin a decent cadence. In real life, I lost a little bit more power on some of the hairpins. I think the gradient is just a bit more variable in real life. Oop, too much. Let it drift back down. Just coming up to hairpin number 7, Dutch corner, and as you'll see, it is of course much prettier in real life. I also have to say that in real life, with the gearing I have on the Wilier's in the car, with a 30 cassette on the rear and a climbing setup, there's one better than a compact on the front. Here we go, turn 7. I was probably able to stay seated and spin more at this power. So maybe trainer difficulty 75% would be better for me personally on this watt bike to replicate the real life gradients. I'll report back. Just coming up to the final hairpin. Feeling good. Heart rate's crept up a fair bit there. I had 3 full rest days ahead of today. Wasn't very well the last 3 days. That may be contributing to slightly higher heart rate than I expected. Final hairpin. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, well, I'd be super grateful if you would. Many thanks. And there we have it. 50 minutes and 14 seconds to complete the virtual ascent on Zwift itself. And that compares to 54:38 in real life, both at about 250 watts, i.e. 4 minutes, 28 seconds difference, taking into consideration the impact of altitude. Do check out my little experiment in a video that's either gone or to come. If it's gone, link is in the video. And there we have it. In the name of science, I can declare that it's faster to complete an ascent of Alpe Du Zwift in our favourite virtual environment than the same segment in real life on the real piece of geology. The difference, taking into consideration the impact of altitude on my own athletic performance, was 4 minutes and 28 seconds, not insubstantial. Now, it's 8:38 and the removal men are meant to be here at 8:30, so the pressure really is on for me to get showered and get off this watt bike, because it's now going to go in a removal van.
And as I said at the start of the video, please do remember to sign up to the Café du Cycliste newsletter, where you can then be entered into a raffle in order to win some vouchers to spend on their super French chic jerseys, bibs, and also some of the casual wear, which I really love.